It has been a week. As you can see, the studio is put back together, but if you may have been able to tell last week, I was a little stressed out over the sopping wet floor that was in this room. The crates that were right behind me, there's still some there. The rest of them are, I wonder if this will work. Can y'all see in there? That's where the rest of the crates are. Those are DJ Effectos crates. This means nothing to you if you are on the audio medium, but if you are knowledgeable of who Propaganda is, then you know how much of my heart still stands with E for Effecto. He was my Kaibigan, my padre, my brother, the B-boy Pinoy, the killer Pino, everyday leg day, snack King Cole, the web crypt keeper, because for some reason he always memorized the Wi-Fi code. Anyway, he passed away in 2018, and Tita Helen was like emptying out the storage, and she was like, come get these crates. I was like, yes, Tita. Anyway, drama last week, man. But I learned how to drywall, what tools I need to cut through some concrete, which means if anybody want to bless me with a roto hammer, I have Ryobi. I know, again, don't judge me, but I have the Ryobi batteries. So if anybody want to bless me with a Ryobi roto hammer, you know what I'm saying, I will be thankful for that. Now I know how to break concrete. Here's this is where we are. And shout out Shark Bites. That way, because I was going to have to solder this mug, and trust me, like, praise the Lord God Almighty, because never would have made it if I had to solder that thing. Now, before we get to the pod, I just got back from Joseph Harp Correctional Institution, a maximum security prison out in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, with my brother JB. I go every year. It's with the Live Free OKC and Justice for Julius organization. They put on this thing called Music Fest. They got a new warden there and security guy who is everything wrong with the penal code system. Yeah, you heard me. And it's just doing psychological stuff on these brothers. Like, let me just give you an example. They have this prison, they're allowed to walk the yard a little freely because they've earned it, right? The ones where they still be having riots and stuff, that's another prison. This one is like, if you're going to be in prison, you want to be in this one, right? I mean, we sat down in the little gym on the yard and watched the Game 7 of OKC. Like, it was great, you know? But anyway, the man do little stuff. You have to wear certain colored shirts and such, depending on your level of freedoms you have. Anyway, this guy just got out the SHU, which is called Special Handling Unit, which means you was underground, no lights. It's like solitary confinement, kind of. Special Handling Unit, the SHU. The guy walks out, he's in a gray shirt. New security dude was like, you need to have a yellow shirt. And this guy was like, oh, I don't have it. I just got out the SHU. He was like, you back talking me, bro? And then like put him back in. Like, that's psychological, dog. Like, you ain't have to do, like, the dude just got out. Anyway, they do this music festival inside the prison. It is organized by the prisoners. It's just an incredible event. It's my third year going. It's just dope, dude. Anyway, so I just got back from that, getting ready for Next Fest to LA, which is the 23rd at the LA County Fair. My homeboy Tycoon. But the 22nd in Atlanta, I'll be at Emory University. It is free. Slide through. If you're familiar with Dave Bazan and Pedro the Lion, because I know a lot of y'all is like ex-evangelicals, so you know exactly who Pedro the Lion is. We'll be there. Anything else I'm forgetting? Oh, new record, Your Arms Are Too Short to Box with God, drops next month. If you're on my Patreon, you've already heard it. So this is a plea for you to join my Patreon. All right. Hood politics with pride. Okay, ooh, baby, what is you doing? Have y'all seen that meme? It's been going around. It's an old meme, which is like, it's just a black man with dreads, and he just kind of giving you the facial expression our auntie give you when you do something real stupid. Baby, what is you doing? Ooh. It's when, you know, what the early millennials would call cringe. Baby, I don't understand the play here. Baby, I just, you watch, what is you doing? You ever watch a person, I can only speak from my heterosexual, cisgendered head ass, right? When I'm witnessing a man just butcher, just shoot an air ball, there are times that I want to come save him. There are times that I want to come save her, the person he trying to jib at. And then there are other times that it's just like the train wreck is fun to watch. But there are times that you just like, you just, I want to like, oh, baby, what is you doing? Why did you, what is you saying? Why you ain't think that through? Ooh, baby, what is you do? Ooh, baby, what is you doing? Ooh, baby, what is you do? Ooh, baby, what is you doing? You understand what I mean. Today, this is me not being outraged at Donald Trump, although there are things that are just outrageous. This is me just being like, I don't, you know, the other meme of the black queer person just doing his hands like, what? I don't, help me. You know, sometimes the beauty of being raised by black women is the gestures. I guess I understand if you're not a part of our culture that you would think that these people are aggressive or mean. I guess. It's just like listening to German. It just sounds like you're angry. You know what I'm saying? So I assume if you're not a part of our culture, by how direct black women are, by how expressive they are, and in a lot of ways, the amount of intelligence that is being spoken to you at a pace, right? That if you're not a part of our culture, you like, why she talking so fast and saying all these things, and how it's intermixed with slang, just the effortless code switch that happens to be the experience of being loved by a black woman is just, but every once in a while she give you this look where she just like, I'm trying not to drag your ass, but this is confusing. And confusing is a nice way to say, you dumb as a bag of rocks. Ooh, baby, what is you do? Ooh, baby, what is you doing? Ooh, baby, what is you doing? Ooh, baby, what is you doing? My mother is probably one of the most sarcastic people I've ever met when it comes to her kids. One time she told me when I was, in high school, trying to, like every boy in high school, try to bulk up, get into the weight room. She told me I looked like the before picture in a Flex magazine. She said I was the before picture. She used to say, because I got pretty decent grades, but she used to say that like every once in a while she would look at my sister, she'd be like, I swear that boy cheating through school, because ain't no way in the world. So oh man, I just imagine not being raised black. Anyway, that's a throwaway phrase, sentence. This is I'm approaching Trump right now with it like, baby, what is you doing? And I got three topics here. Two of which I'm gonna kind of fly through, and the last one I'm gonna spend a little more time on. This man in the Middle East just taking gifts and just falling for the okie doke. Okay, where is your antennas? Taking home this plane, right? I'm gonna talk about the white genocide in South Africa, which is not funny. And then we're gonna talk about the Supreme Court case and how paper thin and fraudulent, and how this man won't just show up on the strength. All right, you ready? Ooh, baby, what is you doing? 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 All right, let's start with the fastest one. The fastest one would be this Middle Eastern trip. Now, you remember, we have had 25 years of a war on terror, which has broken down to, if you are aware, as a war just on Arabs, a war on Islam. You know, Islam has been, they switch. Remember in the 80s, the villains in every movie was either Russian or Asian. And then after a while, all the villains became Arab, right? They were our king villains. Now, that being said, we were still taking their stuff. And if there's one thing that's interesting about American racism, it's not the American racism. Like I think I said this before, there's two types. There's the type, the Elon Musk type, which is like the American type in the sense that's like, I'm not the type of racist that don't want you around. I want you around, you just don't get no rights. I want you around to do things for me. There's the type of racism that could have mammies, right? That can have black women, black slaves raise your kids, right? Be they wet nurses. You know what I'm saying? Like there's that type of racism. That's like, you my property. It's not like I can't live around you. You're living in the house with black people, while at the same time seeing us as subhuman, right? There's that type of racism. Then there's the other type of racism that says, I just don't want you around at all. I wish you didn't exist. The type of racism that was the founding of Oregon. That was like, Oregon didn't want to be a slave state because they just don't want to live that close to black people. Like that type of, you understand what I'm saying? And it, to my mind, this is the difference between Trump and Elon. And I guess I lost my office pool as to when he would get ejected out of the White House. I thought it was going to be by Cinco de Mayo, so I guess I lost that. Dang it. Anyway, the type of racism that is like, I don't want you around, but I'll definitely take your products, is where those two types of racisms meet, right? And that, my friend, is how we look at the Middle East. Because we like that oil. I'll tell you that right now. Because they got money. Oh, you got money. Right? Now, that being said, with Syria and the Assad family being gone, right? With al-Baghdadi being gone, right? With Osama bin Laden being gone, with Saddam Hussein being gone, this a new world down there. Now, this world isn't necessarily just as interested in America as the other ones were, but these new niggas, they playing a new game. And I'm not mad at them. Now, Qatar is a very interesting place. We're going to stop in here because Qatar is the one that's offered this man a plane. Now, Qatar is interesting because remember, Qatar is the one place that is at the negotiating table between Hamas and Israel. Qatar wants a two-state solution and a permanent ceasefire. That's what Qatar wants, because Qatar is not stupid. Qatar understands that we are killing our own people, whether Israel like to believe that or not. You follow me? But Qatar know how to play the game. You know how I know Qatar know how to play the game? Because in Qatar, which is why it was such a big deal to have the World Cup there, is, you know, if you ethnically Qatari, you ain't got to work because they just make so much money. Everybody that works there is either slave labor or just immigrants. Like, it's bad. Nobody's a hero in this. Like it's bad, you know. But they just got so much bread that if you could prove that you ethnically an Aboriginal Qatari, you get $3,000 a month stipend. Niggas don't work. So you know what that means? That means they know money. Here's where America went wrong. There's a lot of places where America went wrong. This meant if Qatar knows money, they know how to speak American. Follow me now. In the Industrial Revolution, and then moving on to the big Carnegies, the big factories, the big factory workers of America, and how America built its grit through steel and, all that good stuff of the manufacturing, all the stuff that Trump imagines was when America was great, right? Quote unquote. There was a purposeful shift in our economic policies. And it was America thinking, okay, well, this isn't the future, because the people getting rich are not the ones. You don't build an economy on the people at the factory. You build an economy on people owning the factory. So then you get this concept of neoliberalism and this, and the global market and having a supply chain that goes across the world. What we wanted to do, our economic model was, we don't want to raise our kids to work in factories. We want to raise our kids to own the factories, right? So we put our emphasis on STEM, on business, on mathematics. And we was like, we'll let China build the factories. We want to run the companies, right? So you get business degrees. You focus on things like that. What leaves our schools? Shop leaves our schools, right? Then we don't stop. So you don't learn trades. We, at our brains in America, look down at trades. Trades are for the people that can't go to college, right? Is the tone that most of us was raised with, right? Trades are what, especially unionized trades, that's what gang members who didn't go to jail, who are out of jail now and just got GEDs, who didn't die in the streets, they plumbers, they truck drivers, they carpenters, they steel workers. And I tell you what, they make it six figures, right? We didn't build constructions done by immigrants. We just grew up in an era where we saw that as, say it with me, working class. We did this to ourselves. We said, no. We're in the front office. That's what America runs the front office. We let the poors build the stuff. China said, bet, because y'all really like stuff, which gets us to where we are now. What does this have to do with Qatar? Qatar on that same move. We don't build stuff. The poors do. Now America talking about we want to start building stuff again because that's not sustainable. You can't build a civilization like that for that long, because then you start needing everybody else. You start needing the work. Let's be hood about it. How you gonna sell drugs if you can't make drugs? Drugs come from Mexico. They come from south of the border. You better get in cool with Spanish Jose. You better know that Paco and them. You better be nice to Juan Carlo. You don't make the cocaína. That's in Colombia. You don't know nobody down there? Then your little drug cartel done. Right? That's the supply chain. The thing with the drug and the manufacturer, which is what's different than, I wish Coffee understood this, is the beginning of the supply chain got all the power. We think the end of it does, but this is what we experiencing. The beginning really got the chips. So anyway, the Qataris, they speak American. And to speak American is to speak hood. It's very simple. Pimp it. What does that person want? Not what are you saying you want. What do you want? So if you read somebody like Trump, see, this is where a lot of these professional commentators miss. This is why you need hood politicians. You understand what I'm saying? Because we seen a man like him. I know the politics haven't. He just want to shine. And when you get a man that want to shine, you can get him to do what you want. And the only way to do that is just to help him shine. That's how it works. I'm going to give an example of knowing how to read this stuff from my homie JB that I don't want to get him in trouble here, but I'm going to try to keep this as vague as possible. Essentially, there was some people, some young men that were looking for their mom, right? Then word got to him that their mom was strung out and was turning tricks, right? So he offers to help the family find him. So blah, blah, whoop-de-whoop finds out where she is. And rather than going in there and being like, oh, I'm a rescuer, he speaks hood. He was like, well, let me ask one of my peoples who her pimp is so that when I walk up in there, there's no problems. So he finds out who the pimp is. Hey, blah, 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 whoop-de-whoop, kids is looking for her, blah, blah, blah. He's like, pimp's like, yeah, do what you got to do. It's all good. You don't need to know the end of the story. The moral of it is why he is such an effective organizer is because he understands the neighborhood he lives in. You follow me? You have to understand what the other person wants. And Trump wants to shine. Trump don't necessarily want to be king. He want to look like a king. You want to be treated like a king, right? I want you to cower in front of me. I have a problem when you call me on my bullshit and I only respect people that won't bow to me. I want everyone to, but I won't respect you unless you could show me, that your nuts hang as low as mine. I hate to talk like that, but that's kind of how he move. So the Qataris say, well, I don't have anything to prove. We just have stuff we need. We hear you don't like your plane. We'll give you one. You can give me a new plane? You can give me a new plane? Listen, man, that kingpin, that boss gonna put a chain on your neck. Listen, everybody from look, are you from the block? Somebody I just spoke to at the Scratch Bastard barbecue out here in LA was like, because I talk about there are people I can call. There are connected unks, pops, OGs that I could talk to if a real street situation started developing. But that favor has interest. And that interest rate, that's the way he explained it. He was like, I don't know if I can afford that interest rate. And I'm like, you preaching. I tried to do this. I tried to say, I was like, that text, don't send that text unless you can pay for what comes with it. What are you talking about? It's free. Show up like, what, am I stupid? I'm going to turn down a free plane? Like, my nigga, that's not free. Baby, what is you doing? He talking about he going to raise the sanctions off of Syria. He talking about like, I really like homeboy, feel me? He young, he cute, right? He in Saudi Arabia, like, you think these people are showering you because they respect you? Like, I know sir, where are your antennas? I know that this is not free. And his people in them, they defense is, well, the difference between Trump and the Biden family is we telling you. These ain't backroom deals. This is front room deals. So we ain't got nothing to hide. Just like when he said, hey, listen, I'm going to have a third term. Hey, listen, I'm going to be a dictator. Just the first day, though. Why y'all never believe this, man? This what he do. Baby, okay. So you take this plane while telling the rest of America that you believing in America made, that you putting tariffs on everything except for your jet. That's what you doing right now. It's just temporary. And then after that, oh, you gonna donate it to the Trump Museum? That's what you gonna do. The Trump Library, after you done being the president, you gonna give it, you're gonna give it back, Trump. You're not gonna keep it. You're not going to keep it. That's what you telling me right now? The man that had boxes in the bathroom, you're not going, why do y'all keep, like, where is your antennas? Where's your antennas and where's yours, Trump? Sir, you a hustler too. What, like, how much of your booty have you gave to these people? You think you're going to outsmart them? You going to out hustle them? Maybe. But baby, okay. You saw a nice shiny thing. This, you know what? This every time they bring out they baddest chicks. You feel me? They bring out that good equator melanin. They bring it out on you, brother. You understand what I'm talking about? What, you don't like me? You don't think I'm cute? Okay, homie. Okay. You out here trying to smash the bottle service lady. Okay. Because it always work. We gonna see, brother. We gonna see. I don't know where your antennas is. Speaking of where your antennas is, can we talk about the white genocide in South Africa next? Baby, what is you doing? Ooh, baby, what is you doing? Ooh, baby, what is you doing? Ooh, baby, what is you doing? Okay, now, I can fly through this one because Molly on Weird Little Guys, which is another show on our network, has done like a 4, almost 5-part series on this, on the people, the names, the origins of it, what they're talking about, all the codes, and how it got to America. So I don't have to go through that, but I can give you this, okay? Trump already shut down the refugee program, right? And we kind of already knew that he preferred white people. I don't like, this is, at this point, if you don't want to believe that, it's because you don't want to believe that. Because in the same conversation with the shithole nations, when he was talking about Haiti, when he's talking about how the Haitian immigrants eating pets, right? Those are two different conversations, obviously. But like the shit in the shithole nations conversation, the next thing he said is like, how come we can't have people from Sweden? My nigga, you prefer white people. This is what you saying. Anyway, the Afrikaans in South Africa got the same problems that we do with the Confederates. You have to remember that apartheid just ended. Like, it was only a couple years ago in the 90s. Apartheid fell in the 90s. Our civil rights movement happened in the 60s. Theirs was in the 90s. Much more recent, right? But they lost. It's not a complete 1-to-1, but you have to remember these people were the colonizing force. They're only 20% of the population. They came in over the course of a couple years. I mean, like 100 years. claimed control of all land and ran the government and decided on this apartheid system. Now, you may or may not know what apartheid is. It just means apart, right? So apartheid had 4 sections. I got to see some of this with my own eyes after it fell when I went to South Africa. So you had top of the food chain, the Afrikaans, Dutch descendant white people. You have the blacks, black people, right? Who were the indigenous population, obviously. You have Indians from India, which were in their scenario of Africa, the slave labor. And then you have the coloreds. That's if you're sort of some sort of mixed version of that with melanin. My homeboy DJ Easy, shout out, he would be considered a colored or a mix. And they talking about zoning laws, like they had to live, they could only live in certain parts, only go to certain, there was beaches they couldn't go to. And when you was colored, let's just say you just happen to have kinky hair, they had a pencil test. Like this stuff is absurd. Like if you're my age, you had to go through this. They'd stick a pencil in your hair, and if it fell, you were cool. If it didn't fall, you too black. We drove by a beach one time in Cape Town, and my boy was like, my dad used to work at that beach, but we couldn't go to it because we were coloreds. Like literal segregation, outlandish, like actual outlandish. Now, obviously, if you're in a system where you are at the top of the system, you don't like not being at the top of the system. No one likes to admit that they were the problem. But what's crazy about how Desmond Tutu and them worked was in the Truth and Reconciliation Project, in the sense that they didn't exact revenge. They looked for restoration and reconciliation. It's so like the best possible way to end something like this, and y'all still mad. Now, there was a law that passed recently that was essentially, the best way to understand it is eminent domain. Is if there's a plot of land, there's already laws around, in the same way we have laws around reservations, to where it's like, okay, look, we can't take y'all's land. This is ancestral tribal land. That's different. But then there's like farmland that they say, listen, just y'all could pull up the law. If the land ain't been used for a certain amount of years, like y'all not really using this land, and this land can be used to further state's purposes, then the state has the right to come take it. So you talking about land you're not using, there's no profit on it. That's imminent. That's just basically eminent domain. It's a law we've had for hundreds of years. They turned that into white South Africans are getting their land taken from them. They are now oppressed. So first of all, that's not your land, number one, right? But we can set that aside for a little bit because you've been living on it for a second. Number two, every country do this. Like, what is you talking about? Now, this genocide that they're referring to, again, I am going to refer you to Molly's podcast on Weird Little Guys, where she breaks the whole thing down. Either way, it is a lie. But somehow that lie made it to Tucker Carlson's mouth, into Donald Trump's ears. And Donald Trump decided, I don't like refugees except for y'all. And 59 South Africans showed up in Dallas. Baby, where is your antennas? These people is hustling you. What don't you, sir? Normal South Africans, so normal white South Africans is like, it's not even a big deal. You know how many white South Africans I know that were like, yeah, we grew up in apartheid. Shit is trash. So glad it's over. No one's taking your, no one's, what are they? Luckily for us, white South Africans think about them the way we think about ours. Where we like, I don't know what the hell wrong with y'all. That's them. But baby, why, sir, you being played because niggas know how to play you now. And lastly, the birthright citizen right to due process case. Next. This some legal mumbo jumbo, but it's important. Okay, here we go. The birthright citizenships thing. The courts have already ruled, shut the fuck up to Trump. Nigga, you can't change. Sir, if you're born here, you can. It's the 14th Amendment. You can't erase it. It's been 127 years. Shut the fuck up. Okay? The creep into a full autocracy. Although we smell like it, at least the courts right now. Okay? Now, that's it. But then there's the other part of this argument that has to do with what they're called universal injunctions as referring to the right to due process. Now, also in that amendment, or in the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment, these are things that we've talked about before, which is, do you got a pulse? Are you a Homo sapien? Are you within our domain? Then you have the right to due process. The law states, even if I'm about to deport you, I need to tell you of your rights and give you a chance to get a lawyer. What Trump and them been doing was just like telling these Venezuelans in English, in documents in English with about 15 minutes to spare. Oh, my bad. Here's the paperwork. The law says you get to have it. Niggas don't know. You can't read it. You don't know. You ain't got time. There's no way to get the lawyer there. Even if the lawyer was on call, like I can't get there in 15 minutes. So in these cases of these individual cases, they started suing because they was like, they didn't get a fair trial. You can't just deport them. First of all, that nigga's a citizen. Number two, that nigga's on a visa. You can't just. So they started bringing lawsuits, like class action suits. And in 22 states, injunctions were put in. What an injunction says is that you have to stop doing what you're doing. Now, a universal injunction says, I know that we're a state, we're a lower court, but you can't do this nowhere else. Okay? That's a national or universal injunction, right? Which is one state saying, because of what we ruled, you can't do this everywhere else. And in some cases, there has been arguments that says, wait, hold on. How come you able to say what the rest of the states can do when you just your own state? You're not the Supreme Court. Why do you get to say to do this? And this is the argument that John Sowers is bringing to the Supreme Court. 22 states, 90 different cases, 90 different lawsuits. They've said in the lower courts over and over, you can't do this. This is universal injunction. John Sowers is arguing at the Supreme Court. Can they do that? How is it we'll agree. He's like, we'll agree in those individual cases that you're right. We can't deport them. But you don't get to tell me about somebody else. You're not allowed to rule on a case that's not in front of you. Follow me. This is the legal job. The cases that you're talking about, this case, yeah, you're right. I can't do nothing about Juan Carlo. But if Maria Paz come through, Maria Paz ain't Juan Carlo. You don't have a right to tell me what to do with Maria Paz unless Maria Paz brings a case. Right? So they saying, well, unless the Supreme Court says that you allowed to do this, which I don't think they will, and they clearly can't, that y'all allowed to do this, then every person who comes in front of us needs to lawyer up and have a lawsuit to tell us whether we can't do this or not, because the Supreme Court has not ruled on whether we can legally do this birthright citizenship thing or deport you without due process. The Supreme Court ain't even said nothing about it, so why should the states be able to say something about it? To which you should say, what you mean the Supreme Court ain't said nothing about it? Well, the Supreme Court is like, well, it's already a law. I don't understand why I need to say anything about it. Well, this law is being challenged by the president's actions. Now, the only way for this to get to the Supreme Court, the issue itself, this is what I mean by off the strength, is if a case is brought on the merits. On the merits just means on the strength. Is what you're doing legal? But that's not the case in front of them. In this place, Trump, I understand what you're doing. You're good, you're good. Because this is a technicality. Here is what he's coming to the Supreme Court saying, and the Supreme Court has to kind of be like, I've given you many examples of how the Supreme Court's job is to be nerds, is to be like, well, actually, well, what if? Their job is to what if you to death. Remember, their cases are not about the case. Their cases are about, do you got the right to bring this case? You following me? So Sowers' argument is, are universal injunctions constitutional? Because it seems like they're overstating states' authorities. Why should one state be able to dictate what another state says? You shouldn't be able to do that. They stepping on y'all's authority. Right? Now, the Supreme Court listens to this thing, and remember that they want to hear pros and they want to hear cons, and they're going to ask this person questions, right? Here's my favorite. The Supreme Court's response was, okay, first of all, before we go any further, we going to judge according to the case that's in front of us. But I just want to say off rip from the jump, you're fucking wrong about birthright citizenship. You're wrong about due process. You are wrong. What you are doing is illegal. Now, having said that, that's not the case we're talking about. But just know, right? You got other people, just surprisingly enough, some of these people that are Trump appointees being like, yo, when can we talk about the merit? Which is what we talking about. When can we talk about off the strength? Off the strength of what you trying to, when can we talk about what you trying to do? You ever gonna bring that case? They was like, hell no, why would I bring that case? You know why they wouldn't bring that case? Because they'd lose it. You just told me I'm gonna lose that case. Why would I bring that case? You just told me I'm gonna lose it. Amy Coney Barrett was like, hey, so whatever we rule, are you gonna follow our rulings? The Trump admin. Sauer said, maybe. Nigga, can you imagine your child looking you in the face and being like, well, if I like what you said, I'll follow it. Nigga, maybe. Man, what the? That man said, I mean, we'll see. It depends on what you say. It depends on what you say. This nigga is bold. What is you doing? So he's trying to argue that until the Supreme Court says what we're doing is wrong, every individual case needs to come to us and argue on the merit of its own case. Right? Now, the problem is the Supreme Court has thought often about these universal injunctions. Should one state be able to should it? I don't know. But either way, the Trump team stepping back and saying, well, listen, man, I'm the president. If I say this what I'm doing, nigga, you're a state. Like, why should y'all be able to, I don't understand why they're able to stop me to do this. One monkey don't stop no show. So then one of the justices gave an example of like, okay, so let's just say a president after you decides, I'm gonna take away y'all's guns. And then a state jumps up and says, my nigga, you can't just take away our guns. I'm gonna stop this with a universal injunction until it gets to the Supreme Court. But we're gonna stop this. So according to your argument, you saying that every single American who had their guns taken needs to have a lawsuit against you, against that other president, according to your logic. Because you saying if we end universal injunctions, then that mean that everybody, look, goes around, comes around, cuz everything you do, they bust, we bust. All the stuff that you want to do, all the things that you making legal for you, you ain't gonna be the president forever, my nigga. Maybe until you die. Because, guys, like I said, he gonna have a third term. Unless he dies. But that's the world you imagining. You trying to get freedoms for yourselves. You trying to pass some stuff for yourself. You gotta remember, you don't live forever. You changing laws right now. You breaking stuff that when that tool is in somebody else's hand, my nigga. Like, you gonna have some serious problems. You have to remember, you an elected branch. We tenured. Bro, we gotta look at the whole picture. We gotta look at when you leave. Okay? Now, according to your argument, you done said you immune. You done said you don't like state injunctions. Oh, you got to remember, okay, what if it wasn't you in there? So you could see almost two things happening in the Supreme Court. You could see, like, who knows what they're going to say, but you could see two things happening here. Part of it is that thing where it's like the worst guy you know makes a good point. And that's about universal injunctions, to where it's like, he's got a fucking point. There is something to this, but maybe that needs to be judged individually. But I just need you to know, off the strength of your argument, that if we're going to talk about just the strength of what you're trying to do, the answer already no. So Trump ain't stupid. Well, then why would I bring this to you if I already know you're going to tell me no? I'm going to figure out a way to get what I want while sidestepping this, because it's not like he's going to listen to the courts anyway, but I don't think he wants the headache. You know what I'm saying? Well, baby, what is you doing? Because, sir, you unleashing a kraken. I don't know. I'm just a rapper from East LA. Hood politics, y'all. All right, now don't you hit stop on this pod. You better listen to these credits. I need you to finish this thing so I can get the download numbers, okay? So don't stop it yet. But listen, this was recorded in East Los Boyle Heights by your boy Propaganda. Tap in with me at prophiphop.com. If you're into cold brew coffee, we got Terraform Cold Brew. You can go there.com and use promo code HOOD, get 20% off, get yourself some coffee. This was mixed, edited, and mastered by your boy Matt Osowski, killing the beat softly. Check out his website, mattosowski.com. I'ma spell it for you because I know. mattosowski.com, mattosowski.com. He got more music and stuff like that on there, so go and check out the heat. Hood Politics is a member of Cool Zone Media, executive produced by Sophie Lichterman, part of the iHeartMedia Podcast Network. Your theme music and scoring is also by the one and only Matt Osowski, still killing the beat softly. So listen, don't let nobody lie to you. If you understand urban living, you understand politics. These people is not smarter than you. We'll see y'all next week.